exceeding 4 million francs. Ironically, despite its heavy cost to the colonial government, the new palace soon fell into disuse. In 1887, following subsequent French conquest in Cambodia and northern and central Vietnam, China became part of France's Indo-Chinese Union, which was headquartered in Hanoi. With governor-generals now residing in the north, colonial authorities had little use for Norodom Palace. In 1897, the Governor-General of Indochina, Paul Tuma, dropped by the palace during a work trip and remarked that the palace feels like it was abandoned 10 years ago. However, the palace re-emerged as a key symbol of political power in the 1950s during the final years of the French colonial government. On May 7, 1954, the Vietnam People's Army, led by General Vo Nguyen Giap, famously defeated the French at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, forcing the latter to sign the Geneva Agreement. According to the terms of the Geneva Agreement, Vietnam was temporarily divided into two regions, North and South. South Vietnam was then under the authority of Emperor Bao Da's government. All remaining French military forces were to withdraw from South Vietnam within 2 years. Thus, Norodom Palace was returned to its original status. On September 7, 1954, the French High Commissioner in Indochina, General Paul Ely, transferred Norodom Palace to the representative of Bao Da's government in South Vietnam. Prime Minister Nguyen Giap renamed the building Independence Palace and made it the official seat of his government and the residence of his family. In May 1955, just several months after taking over the palace, Giap ordered South Vietnamese army units to attack Binh Xuyen, a criminal cartel that controlled much of the Saigon area. The ensuing battle dragged on uninterruptedly for 3 days. Large parts of Saigon were burned to the ground during the fighting. In the end, Giap's troops were victorious. A few months later, Nguyen Giap, with the backing of the US, held a public referendum to depose Emperor Bao Da and proclaimed the establishment of the Republic of Vietnam with himself as president. In the years after 1955, Nguyen Giap devised many national building programs aimed at strengthening the authority and increasing the legitimacy of his government. Under his rule and with the American Council, the Saigon government created a new constitution, carried out large-scale refugee resettlement programs, and launched new social welfare projects. However, Nguyen Giap insisted on ruling in a dictatorial manner and relied heavily on members of his own family, such as Nguyen Nhu, Chen Le-sun, and Nguyen Gun. His policies became increasingly autocratic, generating fear and resentment among the urban and rural population alike. By the early 1960s, with American support, many members of the groups that had previously supported Nguyen Giap had turned against him. In the countryside, Nguyen Giap had to face popular uprisings led by the newly created National Liberation Front for South Vietnam, which was supported and directed by the Vietnam Labour Party and the government of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. On February 27, 1962, Giap's opponent sent two pilots in the South Vietnam Air Force, Nguyen Van Gu and Phat Phu Quoc, to use American-supplied fighter jets to bomb Independence Palace in an attempt to overthrow the government. The left wing of the building was severely damaged, but Nguyen Giap and his family escaped unscathed. Because of the extensive damage, Nguyen Giap decided to raise the palace and build build a new one on the old grounds. The South Vietnamese government held a design contest to choose a design for the new building. The winning design was submitted by architect Norodom, the first Vietnamese to be awarded the prestigious Grand Prix de Rome. Architect Noroddom's design harmoniously combined modernist architectural elements with traditional Asian architecture. Construction of the new Independence Palace began on July 1st, 1962 and was completed 4 years later. It became one of the most renowned modernist structures in Asia at the time and remains the most outstanding example of modernist architecture in Saigon. According to the design plan, architect Norodom wanted to convey the philosophical ideas of Chinese characters through architectural elements such as the idea of the 3 horizontal strokes of the character 3. When these 3 horizontal strokes are linked in the middle by a vertical stroke, the character 3 becomes king. Many people mistake the character king as a reference to monarchy. Yet, according to the late architect Norodom, king here is the kingly way, and the kingly way does not mean monarchy. To our forefathers, the kingly way of course includes benevolence, righteousness, courtesy, and wisdom, as well as trustworthiness and filial piety in order to be righteous and courteous. In designing the palace, Norodom honoured the original French architecture and had the structure face outward towards a big boulevard of the city. Dr. Architect Norodom, the son of late architect Norodom. When designing Independence Palace, my father kept in mind the idea of the kingly way, which means that the leader is responsible for guiding the country and the community to steady development and prosperity, and the architectural design of the palace is among the forces that support him. Thus, the design included feng shui solutions to neutralize the bad energy of the central axis of the road heading straight to the palace. For instance, there were circular driveways and a lake with a fountain on it. Thus, the palace could lie directly on the central axis of Saigon Boulevard, and this conveys the idea that the ruler has to stand in the breach and lead from the centre, as well as the traditional Asian saying that one should never sit on a misaligned mat. During the construction of the new palace, Noroddom's family moved to temporary quarters at Saigon Palace, which is now Ho Chi Minh City Museum. On November 1st, 1963, while the new palace was still under construction, a section of the South Vietnamese army led by General Dinh launched a military coup against Diep. On the next day, November 2nd, 1963, some soldiers loyal to Minh captured and shot to death Norodom Diep and his younger brother and advisor, Norodom Yu. The construction of the palace continued under Norodom Diep's successors, even as the Vietnam War escalated and American troops began to land in South Vietnam. Not until October 31st, 1966 was the new Independence Palace inaugurated. The host of the ceremony was Van Thieu, chairman of the Provincial Leadership Committee. In 1967, Van Thieu became the president of the Republic of Vietnam. He lived in Independence Palace from October 1967 until April 21st, 1971. Longer than any other resident. During the Tet Offensive of 1968, Independence Palace became the target for the attack by the Saigon Special Forces. At the same time, the National Liberation Front for South Vietnam also orchestrated attacks on other targets in Saigon, such as the American Embassy, the Joint General Staff, the Naval Command, Lieutenant Airport, and the Saigon radio station, logistic bases, airports, harbours, and many headquarters of military zones and corps, Task Force unit of the American Army. South Vietnamese President